Harper Audio presents Naked Diplomacy by Tom Fletcher, read by Roger May. Preface. The Diplomat Who Arrived Too Late. Shun Wei-chin was the diplomatic advisor to Emperor Qin during China's Qin dynasty. It was a pretty cushy job, with steady access to the many pleasures of the royal court, a fair amount of arduous but interesting travel, and long periods of relative peace in which to study, opine, and schmooze. Shun knew his master's mind and his master's foibles, and was well suited to the role we now call a Sherpa, the key advisor who helps the leader prepare for diplomatic summits. In modern statecraft, the Sherpa's assistant is called the yak, a metaphor that would also have meant something to His Excellency Shun Wei-chin. The modern yak carries the mountains of paper generated and required by any modern diplomatic negotiation. Shun's carried him. Shun must have anticipated a routine month's work as he set out for the Congress of the Tribes in Xianyang in 208 BC. His emperor's armies had soundly thrashed the Chu tribe, burying alive all those who surrendered. This is what we now call hard power, though the Geneva Convention discourages such treatment of defeated opponents. The victory left the field open for a strong peace treaty that would give Qin increased taxes and land rights, and the opportunity to recruit any remaining Chu warriors to fight for him. This would have been straightforward and probably routine business for Shun, who by this time had negotiated 3 such deals with the unburied survivors of other defeated clans. Making peace is easier when you have shown you can make war. As he carried out his restorative and silver-tongued victor's diplomacy, Shun was an early example of the statecraft that President Theodore Roosevelt aspired to many centuries later. Speak softly and carry a big stick. Only the choice of weapon was more deadly. But Shun was to be rudely awakened from his diplomatic comfort zone. The envoys representing the Chu tribe had developed a new and innovative means of passing messages quickly by positioning rested horses along the key trade routes. This was the 3rd century BC equivalent of a decent social media account. As a result, they had gathered intelligence of an uprising in the west and of disquiet within Emperor Qin's ranks, caused by the despotism of his favourite and most intimate adviser, the flamboyant eunuch Zhao Gao, who deserves his own book. Shun's diplomatic opponents were able to use this crucial information to hold out for a much better deal than they would otherwise have got. Shun had been outmanoeuvred at his own game. In modern language, his diplomacy had been disrupted. The chastened and no doubt increasingly saddle-sore envoy returned with trepidation to his master to report the bad news. As is probably already evident, Emperor Qin was no shrinking violet. The previous year he had tricked his elder brother, the rightful heir to the Qin dynasty, into committing suicide. Mercy had not got him his throne, and was not going to help him keep it. In this case, Qin decided to punish poor execution with slow execution. Shun was tied to a wooden frame and slow sliced, a particularly gruesome demise involving the methodical removal of 999 body parts in random order as drawn from a hat. Death by 1,000 cuts, give or take. The process, Ling Qi, literally means ascending a mountain slowly, a metaphor that resonated with his pre-summit diplomacy in a way that Shun was presumably unable to relish. His diplomatic failure was classified by the emperor as an act of treason, and so no opium was administered to ease the pain. It is not recorded at what point in the 3-day process Shun passed away, but his grisly exit provided evidence for Lu Yu, one of history's first human rights activists, to argue in 1198 for the abolition of Ling Qi, which is the only reason we now know about
Sample complete. Ready to continue?